you ever heard the writing advice to write what you know? Well, like most one-sentence gems of writing advice, it's not exactly that simple. Write what you know is great when you're talking about personal experience that you may or may not implicitly have. For example, as someone with functional neurological disorder, I would have a very easy time writing about someone who uses a walker. I use a walker on the daily basis, so I'd be able to include things like struggling to find an elevator, not being able to go up 2 steps, but being able to manage 1. For someone who doesn't use a walker on the daily, you'd have to do a ton of research or even use one yourself for quite a long time before you had the same experience that I have. And then there are things like class, race, or sexual orientation where you really can't put yourself in those people's shoes if you're not already a member of that community. But for almost everything else, you can do enough research to make it convincing. You can talk to an expert in their field. You can try the thing out for yourself. If you're not a musician and a musician reads your story, they might take issue with how your character plays an instrument. But I would argue you could do that research. You could talk to a musician, you could try out the instrument, and so forth. If we weren't allowed to do research and we had to exclusively write from our personal experience, we wouldn't have the genres of sci-fi or fantasy. So when it comes to write what you know, I would say be realistic about the amount of research you plan to do and are willing to do. If you have the time to devote yourself to learning all this information, that's wonderful. But if you're not really interested in doing the research or you don't have the time to do so, maybe stick to things that you're much more familiar with. A big part of writing is using our imagination to put ourselves into our characters' shoes. Developing empathy for people takes time, and so a lot of times writing some version of yourself, especially if you're just starting out, is much easier and creates a much better story. Don't be afraid to do the research. If you really want to write the book, write the book.